About 6 months ago, I had my second major breakthrough in my own spiritual business, and I did something that really helped me start getting more energetically aligned clients. And I wanted to share that with you today, hoping it will also help you grow as a spiritual entrepreneur. And I'm doing this video really quickly, as you can see on my sofa, so it's not going to be heavily edited and it's not going to be perfect. So ignore the shaky screens and such. But I think it's quite important to talk about this topic because it really shifted things for me, and since then I am constantly getting aligned clients, and it got to the stage that I actually had to introduce a waiting list, and I had to get some of my clients to delay their start date when they wanted to start working with me. I'm a spiritual business mentor, in case we haven't met. My name is Timmy, and I help healers, coaches and light workers to grow and start their spiritual businesses. So the one thing I did was actually a lot simpler than I was doing up until that point. I started reevaluating the value of my work. What does that mean? So I always knew that I'm creating a ton of value for my clients, and I was explaining it really well. Yet sometimes I felt that clients were coming and going and it wasn't very consistent. So I sat down and had a little chat with myself, and I started looking at the results that my service created for my clients. And I looked beyond that, and I looked at what else is shifting for them, what other transformations I'm creating for my clients, not just in their businesses, but in their lives, in their relationships, in their mindsets. So even though my work is very pragmatic and hands-on when it comes to helping them market and grow their businesses, it still has a lot of intuitive and soulful, like deep soulful work involved. So for example, I had this one client that needed my help to reshape his services. He used to be a priest, and then he became an executive, and then he was a coach. So that was a time when he reached out to me, when he was focusing on coaching. Throughout our sessions, he realized that he was trying to force to do something that was no longer in alignment with who he is or who he was, because he evolved as a person throughout the years. So he was still trying to push the coaching route, and he no longer resonated with being a coach. And then I started digging a little bit deeper into finding out who he was right now and what his higher self was trying to tell him what to do. So what actually happened, he completely ditched the whole idea of building coaching programs and services. Instead, he now created his own show, and he talks about very important things for shifting our mindset and also connecting with one another more on a soulful level. But the moral of the story is that sometimes you need to let go of things, and sometimes even if you think that this is the only way for me to make a living out of my soul's calling, or this is the way for me to utilize my talents or my spiritual skills, you might be wrong. And if you speak to someone, maybe a previous client, or you find a mentor or a coach or a trusted friend, they might show you some different perspectives, and you might start seeing things from a complete new perspective, meaning you are very likely going to be heading into a new direction or a slightly different direction. In my case, when I realized what was happening, I started focusing more on the deeper soulful transformations versus just looking at things only from a business perspective. And I realized that even though I was helping my clients grow their businesses or fine-tune or start their businesses, at the same time, I gave them a lot better or deeper understanding of how to communicate who they are. And that was the key to the successes, because I started also communicating that in my own materials, and I started showing my potential clients and my website visitors of the real work that goes behind the scenes by breaking it down for them. So for example, in my program, I have 6 different stages when I take them through the 6 foundations of business consciousness. And instead of just focusing on the how, which is the business side of things, for example, like helping you fine tune your sales processes or helping you redefine your target audience, I also incorporated things that made more sense to them, like helping you, I don't know, realign your focus, okay? Or facing your fears, which happens a lot. If you are a spiritual entrepreneur, if you are running a spiritual business, you're going to have a ton of fears that you will need to let go of, okay? And some of these fears could be not really stepping into who you are, or not really showing the world who you are. Or another fear could be not being brave enough to follow that gut feeling, to follow that intuitive thought that is telling you to do things a little bit differently. These are some of the fears you need to let go of. And when you start seeing the positive results of your work, and you see the real impact you are creating and focus on that, something shifts. And it's a little bit difficult to explain, because something in you will shift in a way that you take this pressure off of you for having to close every single client, or having to win every single potential client or customer that is reaching out to you. And I think that's a key element, because using just intuition or just manifestation tools is not going to be enough for you to have a successful business. But using only business tools and only strategy is also not going to be enough for you. You need to find a balance. And I know balance is everywhere and everyone talks about that, but we talk about that for a reason, okay? Because that's really what you need. You need to balance these two things out in a way that it brings you positive results, okay? In my case specifically, I needed to start truly believing that I wasn't just making an impact on my clients' businesses, but I made radical shifts in their lives. I influenced them in a positive way by giving them clarity, by giving them new direction, and by arming them with marketing and business knowledge. They became more confident as individuals, as entrepreneurs, as spiritual business owners, okay? So try to do this one thing. Look at your services and look at maybe your activities, what you do. Maybe you sell products, or maybe you have clients that work with you one-on-one or in groups. So look at the immediate impact that you are creating positively in your customers or clients' lives, and then look at the even bigger impact, okay, which is going to be your indirect impact. So the direct impact is going to be the actual result of your work or of your product. And then the indirect impact is any other subtle changes, any positive differences that you are creating in your client's life. So try listing them now and see what comes up for you, and start seeing that when you focus on both on the indirect and the direct impact, you can start communicating your vision a lot better, and you can start communicating what you do a lot better in a way that people will relate to you a lot more, and people will understand you a lot better, because they will connect with you on an emotional and soul level, okay? So if you have any questions, you can always just ask me something or anything in the comments, or if you want some more free advice, I've got a ton of resources on my website, which is connect1marketing.com.